If you're like me, you love running a business, but you also dread having to be on social media. I definitely questioned, well, is this just the price that I need to pay to be successful these days? Everyone says to lean into personal brand, which means that I need to post my life and my breakfast and my workout and my meditation routine, plus all of my super helpful educational content online in order to be likable and relatable and be seen as the expert. And that is the way to get clients to want to work with me and ultimately grow my business. Turns out that's actually not fully true. Thank the Lord. In fact, unpopular opinion alert, I actually suspect that all of the time that you're spending on social media right now might actually be the reason you're not reaching your business goals. I know it sounds crazy, but what if the thing that you hate, the thing that you would literally rather not be doing anyways, also just happens to be the thing that is blocking you from that six-figure, multi-six-figure, or million-dollar business that you want to have? Yeah, that's what I realized. I quit social media kind of before it was cool. I posted my Instagram breakup post in 2022, and my business has done multiple seven-figure years since that time. For me, I basically just decided back in 2022, you know what? I am no longer available for playing the social media game to build a bigger business. My mental health and sacrificing that and getting stuck in the social media comparison trap is absolutely not worth it to me. I would genuinely rather have a smaller business, a less successful business, than need to show up on this thing every day. And thankfully, a smaller business wasn't actually the outcome. The business grew a lot after quitting social media. But I'll get into the perks and exactly how being social media free can help you grow faster in your business. But before we get to that, let's just be really honest about the downsides, because I had all of the same fears that you're probably having. If I do this and it doesn't work, will I need to go crawling back to Instagram after my leads dry up? I spent a lot of late nights stressing over that question. But if I do this, how will I still get leads for my business? And yes, honestly, not being on social, you're going to miss out on certain things. Being social media free for years now, I miss out on stuff all of the time. And if you do this too, you can expect that no, you're not going to get the daily dopamine spike when your carousel gets 500 likes, and you're definitely going to miss out on that viral trend and the potential growth that comes along with that. And yes, a major downside is that there is a lot of social proof and leads which come from you having a big fancy follower number beside your name. So let's not pretend that there's not downsides, because there absolutely are. But what you'll also miss out on is what I would argue is the most important. At least it is to me. You're gonna miss out on the epidemic of anxiety and comparison and depression, which, having just read the book, The Anxious Generation, on my vacation, it seems like the data and the research is catching up to what we've all kind of inherently known and felt for quite a while. For the research for this video, I actually added Instagram back onto my phone, and it was incredible. Not in a good way. The first thing I saw was someone who was a direct competitor of my business promoting their offering, and I immediately felt anxious and nervous and even a bit of despair, and I began wondering like, oh, will anyone want my thing if they can go get something similar from this other person? And this was honestly my number one reason to get off social. Was previously, and even today, when I added it back onto my phone, I would just observe my own feelings and thoughts when I opened the apps, and I never felt good after an Instagram scroll session or seeing the latest hate on X. I would compare myself and feel badly about how I was doing in life and at work, and I just always had this feeling of true anxiety after scrolling, and I felt also guilty for wasting my time. Plus, I also seemed to always have an online shopping cart full of 20 things that I apparently needed, and generally I just felt kind of crappy about how I was conducting my life. And even my relationship suffered from this. My husband and I would have long, unenjoyable discussions about all the places I wanted to go and the business events I felt like I had to be at, which were almost constant. And these were some of the most common disagreements that we would have, and it was all fueled by the FOMO that social media drove. So I think it's safe to say these social platforms are definitely not providing us with any mental health perks, to say the absolute least. But what you gain when you quit social media, even as a business owner, is what I'm really excited to share, because honestly, all the people who are not on social media typically don't get the word out very well on the perks because, you know, they're not on social media. So yes, a lot of it and the perks are emotional, but there are also some pretty unexpected and genuine business upsides to this too. For me, the best thing is I no longer feel that I should in my business anymore. I used to see people launching templates and mini courses and high ticket offers and new this and new that and yada, yada, yada. And they would share the behind the scenes of their team retreats and their incredible lives outside of work and the luxury conference that they attended. And I had this feeling that I should be doing the same thing. But now, when I notice the word should leave my mouth, I get very suspicious. And I really recommend you start paying attention to this and getting super suspicious about where that should is coming from too, and is that should actually true? Should I launch a new course? Should I try a low ticket funnel? Should I start hosting retreats or whatever other idea social media has given you this week? Or should I be sticking to the plan that I set for myself and focusing on that plan like crazy? Now, the good news is it is a lot easier to police the shoulds when you don't even see everyone else's highlight reel every single day. If you get off social media, this becomes a lot less work because you're just less exposed to stuff. You go inside for ideas and you look at your own business data and what your numbers are telling you for direction, and you're not just hopping on the latest business trend that you see everyone chasing on socials. But besides not feeling guilty for all of those shoulds, the real true business benefit is how when you're off social media, you stay in your own darn lane. How many times have you realized, shoot, I totally got distracted by another shiny object. I probably should have known better than to sink 3 months into that new product launch. I honestly was only doing it because so-and-so had already done it before and I felt like I should too. Genuinely, protecting myself from shiny objects and staying in my lane and becoming so well known for just one thing has been truly the fuel under the fire on the exceptional growth of my business. And business perks aside, being off social media, I've had so much less stress about work, less feeling behind, less caring what other people think, not because I'm just suddenly a better person, but simply because I am not inundated with other people's opinions all of the time, which also leads to a more peaceful mind and more perspective on what really matters in life and work. But getting back to business and marketing, because this video isn't just for anyone who's sick of social media, which I'm pretty sure is probably half the world at this point, but instead this is specifically for business owners. And here's the truth. If a significant portion of your leads are coming from social, then yes, quitting tomorrow might also lead to another type of mental health crisis, and that is the anxiety of your revenue just dropping significantly. And we don't want that for you. So when social media drives leads into your business, we need to be really considerate as to how you make that switch. Because yes, you do need a marketing strategy as a business owner. There are no two ways about that. To help you with that, later on in the video, I'm going to go into 20 different marketing options that are all social media free. And I'll also share my exact marketing plan so that you can see an example of how this business without social media whole strategy is actually implemented in a real business. But before we get there, let's talk about the mistakes, because people have tried and failed at quitting social for their business before, and if you have a solid plan going in, you should be good. So here's the mistakes you want to avoid. First, get really honest about where your leads are coming from. Start looking back at your stats. Where did your email list growth come from? Where did your website traffic come from? Where did your client inquiries come from this past year? What percentage of them came from social media versus elsewhere? If you're getting right now like 50% plus from social media or 100%, then this is definitely going to be a longer transition game for you. If, however, social media is only making up 10% or 20% of your leads, then this can be a much faster change. For me, personally, I had already decided if quitting social media means a 10% hit to revenue, I was fully fine to do it right away. I was at a point where I just did not care. But figuring this out is going to depend on how you sell right now. So the way I personally tested this was on a course launch. I tested not promoting our free event or the course sale itself on social media at all for one course launch. I didn't do any lives on social for it. I just launched my email list and my website traffic. And we saw no major difference in launch numbers at the end, which was the final thing which I needed to say, screw this, peace out, Instagram. I then focused on new marketing strategies, which I will share in a moment. But I never looked back at social for this business. But also saying goodbye so quickly kind of only works if you have another marketing strategy, which is actually pulling weight for you. So to summarize, mistake number one, it's not first evaluating, can I get off today, or do I need to build up a new marketing strategy first? Where are my leads actually coming from? And how will that impact how quickly or slowly I can make this change? Now, the second mistake is switching from a mass marketing strategy to some sort of very deep, like relationship-y marketing strategy without considering what that's going to do to your revenue. So let me explain this one, because this whole like mass marketing versus relationship marketing thing is something that a lot of business owners don't clue in on until it's far too late. So social media will get you in front of thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people with a single post, depending on the size of your audience on social media. And maybe you think, okay, cool, well, instead of using social media, I'll just go to local networking events, or I'll start a community in my town which serves local business owners with whatever the thing is that I have. For example, maybe you're a website designer and therefore creating some sort of like small business network in your local town, being the host of that, and then meeting all the business owners is an incredible way for you to get web design clients. However, the thing that you need to take into account is what amount of reach does your business model require? If you're doing one-to-one services, then absolutely okay. Doing some sort of like relationship-y marketing tactic, like an in-person local networking group, is going to work beautifully for you. But if you want to sell hundreds of thousands of templates or digital products or items from your Amazon storefront, or you want to be an influencer and make money through affiliate links, which tends to generate a lot less per sale than a one-to-one service does, then you're going to need a very, very, very large audience. In other words, you're going to need a mass marketing strategy. So you need to be conscious when you're choosing what you're going to replace social media with. Do I have a business model which requires me to have a mass marketing strategy in place? Or would my business model, because I do, say, one-to-one services, actually be totally okay with just a handful of clients a year, and therefore I can do some sort of more like relationship marketing tactic? Maybe it's still online, maybe it's actually offline in person. When we get into the 20 marketing strategy options later, this will be a massive factor in choosing which works for you. Now, if you're watching this and thinking, wonder if I could be a web designer too, then that is exactly why I created the Dream Client Booking Blueprint. It is a 5-day guided challenge designed to help you land your first dream web design client without all of the overwhelm. Whether you are just starting out or pivoting into website design, this challenge provides daily bite-sized tasks to help you build your confidence and, most importantly, your client base. You're going to define your ideal client, price your services with clarity, craft a really compelling portfolio, even if you don't have any clients to speak of right now, and learn how to craft a winning pitch. So if you're ready to turn your design passion into a paid profession, then check out the blueprint. It is exceptionally affordable, meaning you can test out a potential design career for less than the price of dinner. Click the link in the description below to secure your copy of the Dream Client Booking Blueprint. Now, the biggest mistake that I made when getting off social media was actually something totally different. One of the massive benefits of social media is the really personal connection that you can build with your audience via stories or sharing your life or little behind the scenes clips into who you are as a person and maybe the house renovation that you're doing or the trip that you're taking or whatever it is in your life. And while that's not specifically business related, those things are often a factor in why people choose to buy from someone, because that person has a lifestyle that they aspire to, or you live a similar life to them, or you have the same number of kids, or the same religion, or you're from the same hometown, or you have a similar personality, or something like that. And these random little life factors do actually influence people's buying decisions. And so something which I realized when I got off social media, and I didn't clue into this for honestly a good year until after I was off social media, is that I do still need to produce content that builds some sort of a personal connection. If I'm just like talking head educational person of the internet, that's not going to build a relationship the same way with an audience like social media is going to. Now, there's ways that you can absolutely still manage this and do this without social media. For example, I've posted a few vlogs on this YouTube channel before, and I've also made a lot of effort in my email marketing to really have like recent real life updates in there and then tying those to business lessons, which I'm sharing in my emails. I'm basically tying the business lessons into whatever's happening in my life at that point. And also when we host live events online, I also share things like major milestones that are happening in my life, like having a baby or having some of those just more like real life conversations. And those things, you just need to be conscious of if you're choosing another marketing strategy. So how can you still, basically, if a personal brand is important to you, how can you, in whatever your new format is, and whatever your new marketing strategy is, or in some other way in your business, still bring that personal relationship across if that's important to your business? Speaking of which, I actually brought you all along with me for a week at the 7-Figure Founder Retreat in Napa Valley on this channel. If you want a kind of fun behind the scenes of one of my business trips and to see what 7-figure founders are actually discussing these days, do give it a watch. I'll link it for you below. It's basically one of the vlogs that I put together for no reason other than just to bring you a bit more into my life and the more fun parts of my work, because mostly my work is just typing stuff into a laptop, but every now and again I do get to go on really cool business trips to Napa Valley or Necker Island, and I learn so many great business lessons from the entrepreneurs that I meet there, and they're kind of fun too. But next, let's talk about the actual plan. What do you actually need to build a business off of social media? The first, I would say, is actually the right mindset, and then the second is the actual steps. I want you to start cultivating the "this is what I'm not available for" mindset, aka your boundaries or constraints. You can choose to not be available for anything your little heart desires in life or in work. I personally am not available for constant meetings, last minute anything. I'm definitely a work ahead type gal. I'm not available for working with disorganized people, and of course, needing to sacrifice my mental health for my business on social media, I'm clearly not available for that either. In my personal life, I am not available for mom guilt, other people's opinions influencing what I do in life, non-organic peanut butter, and mismatching socks. All of those things get to me. Oh, and also disorganized Tupperware drawers, that drives me up a wall, and towels and bed sheets and children's clothing with really corny patterns on them. I can't stand those things either. And I should say, I have successfully built a life and business which don't do any of those things, and I am a happier, healthier, wealthier person for it. So, start with your non-negotiables. I am not available to be on social media, but I will have a successful business, making whatever amount of revenue brings you joy regardless. And if you're really feeling it, you can start listing other stuff too. But what I can help you with in this video specifically is the whole social media thing. Now let's work within that constraint and make a plan. Day one is to figure out, how many leads do you actually need? Do you tend to close, let's say, 50% of the people who you speak to about your services? And maybe you have 24 client spots per year. Great. That means that you need to talk to 48 humans about your services in a year. And then you need to think about what volume of marketing tends to be necessary to meet and speak to those 48 humans. Or maybe you sell courses like I do, and if 1 in 10 people who see your offer on a training tend to buy it, and you want 100 course sales in a year, then you need to get 1,000 people onto those trainings. And getting 1,000 people on trainings, you need to think about, how many eyeballs do I need to see my training offering, basically. Obviously, if you want 1,000 people versus 48 people, that is going to necessitate a different type of marketing option. And that's where that whole, again, like relationship marketing, mass marketing thing, which I was speaking about earlier, is important. Now, while that sounds simplistic, I realize this is probably going to require you to go dig into some data and do some digging in your business. So if you just figured this out on day one, figure out the ballpark math, then you can pat yourself on the back, say job well done, pour yourself a glass of wine, and spend your evening mentally preparing for day number 2. And then on day number 2, you're going to get into which marketing strategy actually aligns with you, aka my giant list of 20 marketing strategies and picking one of them. I have a fancy dancy Google sheet to help you with this, which I'll link below, by the way, but let's quickly run through the options together. I'll explain what each is, and again, get yourself a copy because there's some factors on there like, is this mostly paid with your time or your money? Or does this require you building your own audience or simply borrowing someone else's audience? Which one or the other might be more appealing to you, and also the timeline that you want to get leads on, as building tends to take longer than borrowing an audience. It also details some strategies about like mass marketing versus relationship marketing strategies, which ones are which, and examples of which strategy might fit better for, say, an in-person local photographer versus a online business like a website designer. And it also gives you a handy place to tick which of them are your final front runners. So let's get into it. Marketing strategy number 1. Networking events and local meetups. This could be your local BNI network, or if your town has a small business chamber of commerce department that runs events, or maybe it's something that you found yourself, like a women's creative business circle in your town or city. Marketing strategy number 2, referral/affiliate programs. Let's say you're a graphic designer who does logo design, and there's an attorney who you know who helps entrepreneurs get trademarks. And what do people need after a trademark? probably a logo and a brand identity to go along with that name they just secured. That could be a perfect referral/affiliate partnership, and this also scales really well. This is the thing that we used in my business to scale our course launches from 100K a course launch to 400K a course launch. Marketing strategy number 3, email marketing. This is where you build a list and you send it typically weekly newsletters to keep top of mind for your ideal clients and share value. It's known to be one of the most effective online marketing strategies there is and has been a massive part of my business and probably literally every successful business you know on the internet. And if you're wondering, I have my email list on Kit and I could not recommend it more. If you haven't gotten started with your email marketing yet, I'll put a link to Kit below. You definitely want to check it out. Marketing strategy number 4, collaborations with complementary businesses. You know when you see brands do that thing where it's like business X another business lines? This is an example of a collaboration. I found out about Farm Rio, a clothing brand, when Suzanne did a collaboration with them, and then I've gone on to buy multiple Farm Rio dresses since then because I love their prints. And I had never heard about them before they did the collaboration with Suzanne. So if you and another business have a very similar ideal client or audience, consider putting something together. A piece of content, YouTubers do this all the time, or a line of products or a special one-time only offer which you both share to your audiences can be really fabulous. Marketing strategy number 5, SEO/AIO, aka search, whether that's via a search engine like Google or AI. Either way, basically the game is put out great content on your website, which the robots of the internet can then read and send relevant people your way when someone is looking for whatever it is that you offer. And if you want a deeper dive into what really matters with SEO or AIO, I'll link a video below, which I did with the founder of Squarespace's SEO tool, which gets into the nitty-gritty of what actually matters for search. Marketing strategy number 6, long-form content marketing. We are talking about blogging or podcasting or YouTubing. No matter if you're feeling the written word, the spoken word, or the spoken word on video, I guess you could say, these strategies all fall under kind of just like the umbrella of long-form content marketing. Now I know. Some person is gonna get all up on top of their soapbox in the comments and say, but YouTube is social media and you're on YouTube page. To which I say, beg to differ. I started with a blog, just me writing stuff on a laptop, often at midnight, and then publishing it for the world on the blog. And then I got into podcasting. I basically took a blog and then I basically had a spoken version of it, and that was also conveniently available to listen to both on the blog as well as on iTunes and Spotify and all the rest of the places. I can't say that I loved podcasting. I decided to kind of, try it out as an experiment, see how I liked it, but I realized after 30 episodes it wasn't for me. But then I got onto YouTube. And taking my blog post, and again, kind of like reading it off, but this time with a teleprompter and camera and lights. And now to me, YouTube doesn't feel like social media. It doesn't have the messaging functionality of Instagram. It doesn't have the stories function. Yes, they've started putting shorts on here, but I honestly don't use shorts. This kind of feels not so much like a social network, like Facebook with groups or X with whatever X has. To be honest, I actually haven't looked at X in like 5 years. But none of my personal friends have YouTube channels. It's not a place where like regular humans go to post content. Only really like professional or aspiring professional creators actually post on YouTube. All of those fast hits of content and life updates and messaging and comparison and people sharing their highlight reels of their perfect lives, or whatever else seems to be happening on social media these days, I'd argue YouTube is still pretty insulated from that. To me, YouTube is like Netflix created by individual people instead of a TV network or a streaming platform. So anyways, you can disagree with me. You can tell me I'm a massive hypocrite in the comments. In fact, please do. It helps the engagement on the video, so I couldn't care less if you disagree. But it actually only benefits me if you comment down there. But digression over. To me, long-form content is long-form content, YouTube included. Moving on to number 7, speaking. Speaking is interesting. It is kind of like posting content online, but you typically do it in real life in front of real humans at a conference or a meetup or some sort of event on a stage. Basically, you talk on a stage, everyone sees you as an expert, you probably plug your email list or an offer on that stage, and that's that. Next is a Google My Business listing and optimization as number 8. This is basically vital for any physical business, but it can also be mega even for a completely remote business. I had a student of mine, she runs a web design business, and she wanted to live the digital nomad life, but also figured that her local city would be a fabulous niche for her web designer business. So she created a page which ranked really strongly on her site for the term Squarespace website designer and then her city. And then she also had a Google My Business listing, and just that had her booking clients even while she was traveling abroad. So don't underestimate this one, even if you do work online. Number 9, online directories and review sites. Now this depends on what industry your business is in, but for some businesses, there is a very large or small and specific directories. For example, the one that everyone knows in the US is known as TaskRabbit, where you can easily hire people from a list to say, come and assemble your IKEA furniture, or hang a lamp, or remove some furniture. And in Switzerland, where I am, there's something hilariously called Rento-Rentner, and a Rentner in German means a retired person, so basically rent a retired person. Or there's also freelancer sites that can fall into this category too, like Upwork or Fiverr, or something like Trustpilot, and really fabulous reviews on there can also lead to clients finding you too. Number 10 is PR. And this is where you typically hire a PR agency and they get you magazine articles and TV appearances and interviews for newspapers, and they invite you to red carpet events, depending on if that fits your business. And it's basically you getting into more traditional media appearances to build awareness of you and, as an extension, your business. Number 11 is guesting on other podcasts. Now this is a very different game to hosting your own podcast. It's more about having a handful of potential topics and specific ideas for episodes in your mind and then taking those like on tour on different podcasts. Basically, you pitch yourself, record the episode discussing whatever of your selected topics that the hosts think most fits their show, and that's basically podcast guesting. Now, number 12 is ads. And it's funny because people automatically, when they think marketing, they think about ads. But as you can see, we've already had 11 ideas before this, and we have a bunch to come. So ads are not the only option, as many people assume. With ads, you typically pick a fitting ads platform, Facebook, YouTube, Pinterest, etc., and you hire an agency to run ads into the online funnels that you have set up for you. Number 13 is partnering. Now, the example I'll give here is kind of specific to the wedding industry, but with a bit of creativity, I think you could apply this to many industries too. So you'll often notice that wedding venues often create partnerships with photographers and caterers and florists and other vendors, and they have a specific list, which if you book at that venue, you actually have to use those vendors, or they highly recommend those vendors, or you get some sort of discount or perk on the venue if you go with a preferred vendor for the caterer, for example. Now, this is basically a way of businesses passing business back and forth as complementary businesses. This could definitely work, say, in the interior design industry, where you have a select few trusted contractors or landscapers that you work with, and they do the same back for you. So setting up partnerships when you've had a really good experience working with related businesses can mean that all of you need to put in a lot less work into the marketing front, because a client for one of you is a client for all of your other business friends as well. Number 14, exhibiting at shows and fairs. In my hometown of Toronto, there's something called the One of a Kind Show, which is where a bunch of handmade businesses all display their goods at an event. Also, in the equestrian world, this is super common too. Equestrian brands tend to showcase their products and services at different horse trials and races. And then there's other things that are kind of more like broadly applicable, like local Christmas markets or art fairs or farmers markets, where you can advertise yourself if it's kind of fitting to your business type. Number 15 is publishing work in magazines and photography books. So getting published in any sort of publication, similar to PR, simply gets your product and your business name into the public domain and consciousness, which can be a great thing. Number 16 is influencers. And for certain types of businesses, influencers can be a genuine game changer in their visibility and trajectory of their business. I met a girl at that Create and Cultivate 7-Figure Founder Retreat, which I mentioned the vlog of, and she actually started a makeup bag company called the Flatlight Co. And she was so lovely. And she shared with me that even without them hiring her, a massive UK influencer posted using her makeup bag, and from that day, the sales of the business took off, which of course led them to realize the impact of influencer marketing and actually properly set up relationships and campaigns with influencers. Number 17, flyers and posters. Old school, but legit, I've seen people do it. Your local grocery notice board. A past web design student of mine actually dropped flyers for her services in the local coffee shop and on the grocery store bulletin board and got clients from it. So maybe shouldn't be discounted. Number 18, guest posting on relevant blogs, tech, or business platforms. If there's an audience which exists that you want to get in front of, then offer to create a piece of content that they can post onto their website. A friend of mine actually wrote articles for Forbes for an entire year, and that is obviously a killer marketing strategy. Now, these platforms do often accept guest contributors, so actually Squarespace also asked me to give an interview, which they then posted on their Squarespace Circle blog a few months back, and sometimes, like in that case, it was actually even paid. So you might also even get paid to do your marketing if you go with an option like this one. Number 19, white papers or case studies on successful projects. So if you have some sort of impressive stats or interesting story, then you can publish that thing. It's a major authority driver and can double as content, which is sometimes gatekept for a price or given in exchange for an email. Number 20, no list of marketing strategies would be complete without it, and that is cold pitching. You reach out to potential dream clients via whatever method you find best. A lot of people do find it uncomfortable, but it definitely works if you muster up the courage to give it a go. Okay. So there's your marketing strategies, there's your 20 options. Day 2 is all about deciding which of these options fit me and my business and the number of leads or how much money or how much or little money I have to get started with. And again, that marketing analyzer will help the Google Sheet because there's, again, a few different factors to take into account when you're picking. So make sure you do download that below. And then once you've had a date with yourself and the analyzer tool and you've picked one, day 3 is all about guesstimating what volume and frequency is going to help you hit your goals. Now, we can't know exactly when we start a new marketing strategy, exactly what it's gonna need to be, but we can do our best to pick a frequency. Say you're like, I'm gonna pitch 2 influencers to collaborate on campaigns per week, or I'm going to do 1 YouTube video per week, or I'm going to find 5 complementary businesses to collaborate with this quarter, or whatever. And from there, once you have some data on, okay, how well is this actually working? And you can figure out, okay, is the amount which I'm doing getting me to my goals, or do I need to adjust the input to see the output that I actually want? And know that when you do this, when you find another way, when you pick another marketing strategy that you build up, you're going to be in good company. Taylor Swift on the New Heights podcast appearance, she spoke about not being on social media. I think it's safe to say it doesn't really get bigger than Taylor. She is so omnipresent in mainstream culture and social media, but that doesn't mean she's actually on it or consuming it or reading the comments on her posts or her pages. Her lack of being on social actually seems to be what she credits her ability to still be in the industry 20 years later. Massively famous when so many other people can't hack the public attention for that long.
I don't see a lot of things. I've been in the music industry for 20 years. It's pretty hard to hurt my feelings at this point.
She's a pro.
I have so many like friends or acquaintances or people where like they'll see one comment they don't like,
right,
and it will ruin their day. It'll ruin their night. Like, and I just want to say to them, like, you should think of your energy as if it's expensive, as if it's like a luxury item. Not everyone can afford it. Not everyone has invested in you in order to be able to have the capital for you to care about this.
Right.
Because like what you spend your energy on, that's the day.
And it's so true.
Right? Like it doesn't matter where you were. Like maybe you went to go get coffee today. Maybe you saw friends today. If you were obsessing over one thing that you saw, like you literally like saw some guy call you mid, and you can't stop thinking about it.
No, he did not.
You can't stop thinking about it. Dude, that's the day then. I've been able to sort of mediate a really healthy relationship with not seeing a whole lot. So I do detach from the internet in a huge way. Like I have had my comments disabled on Instagram for like 10 years now.
Yeah.
And
it's very
I don't miss it. My business is making music and taking care of my fans. And I have ways of monitoring what they want from me and how best to entertain them, which is my job. And everything else, I'm just sort of like, it's not my business. I have actual business that I need to run.
When I heard that, I could so relate. I have seen a lot of business owners burn out, need to quit, take a year off, burn their businesses down, and come back and rebuild it a couple years later because it's just a lot to handle, and social media is definitely making it worse. But not having social media, policing what you're even exposed to, and as Taylor says, I don't see a lot, and it's just not my business. I have actual business to run. That sort of a mindset will be so beneficial to your long-term business success. And if Taylor can host a $1 billion Eras tour and be the biggest female artist the world has seen and do it without being on social media, then yes, you can get enough clients and customers without being on social media too, if you want to. I get online marketing. I've done it for over 10 years now, and I get how the whole news and social media thing works. content is produced, the more horrific and angering it is, the more it gets pushed, the more upset you get, the more glued to your screen you are, the more ads they can show you, and the more that you buy stuff. And yes, this is the world that we live in, and as business owners, we do need to operate in this space as it exists now and connect with customers, probably online, if we want to have a scalable business model. But we can also be a bit more discerning about exactly how we want to show up and where we want to show up and determine where our energy goes. Like Taylor said,
You should think of your energy as if it's expensive.
and just before we go, I want to share a few very practical methods for doing that, because there's a few things which I have done which helps me stay truly disconnected. And the first thing is Newsfeed Eradicator. It's a free Chrome extension, which if you go onto any social media platform for whatever reason, you just don't see the content on it. You have to actually go search for something to find something. For example, if I want to DM someone who I only have on Instagram, I can open Instagram, I can message that friend, but I don't see any content on Instagram. Same thing, I still have a Facebook account because sometimes I like buying things on Marketplace. I find so many fabulous antiques on there for my home, which I love. But I don't want to see the latest hoorah about whatever politically angering event just happened, or the business coach bashing business coaches, which I swear is just like my entire newsfeed. So Newsfeed Eradicator solves that. You can use it on Facebook and Instagram and X and LinkedIn, and I think probably a few more too. And the other one is, and yes, it really does work, deleting apps from your phone. Even if you do add them back later, deleting, I feel like, really does something. It stops you from being able to easily open it, and taking the extra step to download it and re-log in, and that kind of friction does actually make a difference in how often you end up on it. But also, before you quit, if you decide to keep the account so other people can find you, just a little word to the wise, I would actually suggest posting something to say where people can find you. So I mostly quit Instagram in 2021, and my team posted a little bit in 2022, and it took me almost a full year of really not using it and deciding to officially break up with it before I decided to post about that decision, because, I wasn't sure, would I go back? Would it work without social media? But after a year, I knew I was very happy with my decision, and I did notice in that year, someone actually did DM me on Instagram asking if I was still running my business, which made me realize people thinking your business is dead because you're not on socials is definitely a problem for business. So my last post on Instagram is my Instagram breakup post, which I think is kind of important, because if someone goes to it, it explains my decision to quit social media, and it directs them to where they can find me online. That is my YouTube channel, my email list, and my website. And ironically, that post is filled with engagement and comments and people saying, I wish I had the confidence to do that, which I found rather entertaining. Now, in terms of the right time to quit, I'd say this comes back to where you're getting your leads from and how reliant your business is on social media right now. If your biggest lead stream isn't socials, feel free to quit tomorrow. If it is, this could be a multi-month process of building up another marketing strategy. But either way, do set yourself a timeline and a goal, and do share it in the comments, because I'd be curious to hear exactly when you're planning on leaving socials. Now, there's one secret that I didn't share so far in this video. It's also possible to run a successful business without any marketing at all sometimes. And I know that sounds crazy, but my past student Becca actually hacked a method to book herself solid as a designer without doing any marketing strategy, and it was pretty genius. So you need to hear that one for yourself. Do watch this video next, and Becca will explain the insane but true non-marketing marketing method that she uses in her business.